What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 26 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys. I'm joined by the coolest dudes in video games, Greg Miller, Colin Moriarty.
Yay. It's your golden episode because you just turned 26.
I did.
So this is your golden episode.
If episodes were years, this would be the show would be how old I am.
I mean,
That's
you
good
would,
insight.
if episodes were
I said it
years,
last
the
year
show
for
would
the
be as old
decades.
as you are. That would make sense. Yeah.
Yes. But they're not. They're just episodes.
Yeah, but
So
the
it's just a
number,
number.
the number is still how old you are.
Numbers don't mean anything.
Okay,
guys.
this is a nice
They don't
shirt.
mean
How about
anything.
that?
It is. I like it a lot.
It is
It's
a nice
upsetting. There's a lot of origin story to this. I won't get into the whole thing, but I originally bought my pigeon shirt because I was jealous that Scott Lowe had a dinosaur shirt.
Sure.
And I wanted that dinosaur shirt, and they stopped selling it. So then I saw the pigeon shirt, and I'm like,
Yeah.
pigeons will do. So now I've just been on
The
this.
dinosaurs of the sky.
Yeah. This like struggle. I found the sharks, and here they are. They're the dinosaurs of the sea.
So that was your story. That was like a long story. Just that
No, there's more details that we don't need to get into.
you
all
bought
that.
a pigeon shirt and then later bought a shark shirt.
Yeah.
That was the story we just heard.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a Mickey Mouse shirt in there somewhere too.
Yeah. It's part of your new prints.
I just like all these like all over animal print stuff. It's good. It's a look.
Do we still count Mickey Mouse as an animal?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He is a mouse.
I know. Don't get me wrong. I
you
know
didn't know.
technically he's a mouse,
Yeah.
but he's also a person.
Yeah. Guys, this is the Kind of Funny Games cast. Every week we talk about video games, 4 topics broken up day by day, Monday through Thursday on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Full episode on Friday at that same place.
Oh.
Also, you can get it early, patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. It's great. You should do it.
It's awesome.
This one, it's worth $1.
Hey,
Yeah.
all right.
I don't know if they've been worth $1 for a while.
Oh man.
But this one
That's
definitely.
harsh.
This
Okay,
one's
good.
going to be good. It's going to be good specifically because the first topic of the day is Final Fantasy VII. And I am so excited to talk about this. The remake's coming, and I want to know you guys' thoughts on this. What's it going to be? When's it going to come out? Will it ever come out? What systems it's going to be? All the questions. There's these burning questions. Everyone's talking about it on the internet. Everyone's excited about it. Everyone's trepidatious. But why?
Because they haven't started it. It's the director didn't know he was the director.
That's
It's
Yeah,
clearly
that was-
years away.
That was my favorite story. Was when I think it was Nomura, right?
yeah.
Was saying that it was on Kotaku. I think when they were saying that he didn't even know that he was in charge of the game until they saw like some sort of slideshow or whatever at Square Enix in Japan, and he's like, "Wait, I'm the director of the game." And they're like, "Yeah, you're the director of the game." He's like, "No one told me that." So off to a good start.
Yep.
Final Fantasy
VII.
VII Remake. Yeah, that game. I mean, the reason people have trepidation about it is because, and they should, is because it's a Square Enix game coming out of Japan, so you have every reason to be fucking nervous about it. Not only in terms of its quality, but in terms of its timeliness. Right? Final Fantasy 13, very questionable trilogy. Some people like it, a lot of people don't, and so it makes sense to be nervous about this. But I think moreover, people are nervous about it because it seems like Square Enix has a lot of balls in the air. And some pretty important balls as well with Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts 3. Some very important balls, Kevin.
Yes.
So adding another important ball
Yeah.
in the air when they're already juggling the clown known as Square Enix. And I don't mean that as a derogatory thing, but let's just imagine that the clown is juggling
You're
balls.
painting this metaphor.
Exactly.
I mean, 2 balls is usually enough.
Yeah, 2 balls is enough. 3 balls,
getting crazy.
It's getting crazy. So, yeah, I think people are nervous about it because the game is so clearly in pre-production, or
Yeah.
just as I think the verbiage they use, just entered production. So you're looking at 2019 probably for this game, and I'd be shocked if you saw it before then.
And that's like best case scenario 2019.
Yeah, because they
Square
have to.
hasn't had a lot of best case scenarios lately in
In a
terms of getting
long
games
time.
out.
Yeah, it's a problem just in the sense that this isn't something you do lightly. This is a game that is now 18 years old. It can't be just remade or remastered. They are releasing the PC port of it to kind of tide people over on PlayStation 4, which I respect, and I'll play it, and I'm excited about it, actually. I'm very excited about it.
But are you going to play through it? Are you just going to
Yeah,
play
I'm
it?
going to play through it.
You're going to beat it?
Yeah.
Really?
I haven't beat Final Fantasy VII since I think I was in high school, so.
Man. All right.
Yeah, no, I'm going to play it and beat it, and I'm looking forward to it. It'll be an old kind of experience that I'm looking forward to. But this isn't a game that you just hand off to someone. It's important that they do this right, which is why I think that they could probably do it in 3 years, but I don't think they will, because they have to now sit down with the script and figure out, like, well, do we want to rewrite certain parts? They have to sit down with the battle system, materia, and all these kinds of things. Be like, is there anything that needs tweaking here? They have to be very, very careful with what they do with this game. This is a game that is going to sell millions and millions of copies, and needs to be done right, because Final Fantasy VII, while I don't think it's this incredibly sacred game that a lot of people think it is, the fact of the matter is a lot of people do think it's a very sacred game. So I feel bad for them that they, now that it's real, that they're actually doing it. It's something that people have been asking for years, but I didn't think they'd ever really do it. And I thought that part of it was the fact that they don't think they could do it.
Yeah.
So there's every reason to be nervous about it, but there's reasons to be excited too.
So that's my thing, is like I'm very excited about it, but I'm just as nervous because it's like there's no way that they're going to recapture the magic. There's no way this is going to be what people want it to be in their heads, and that's because really that's my question: is what do you want it to be? Like, what is it that you want? Because if you just want the exact same game but just prettier, that's not going to happen. Like, there's no way they'll ever do that. And it's like, should they even do that? Like, is there a purpose for that? And would that game even be the same release now?
All right, now you're talking nerdy stuff. I'm gonna go get coffee.
Okay.
I don't like Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah,
Never
great.
played it.
Great hater, now say it.
I started playing it. I never could get through it because it was really boring.
No, I mean, I would want a scene for scene, shot for shot remake of the game. I mean, I think that's like the kind of how you have to treat it. It's not a reboot, right? So it's implicitly called Final Fantasy, or explicitly called Final Fantasy VII
Remake. Which they said that that's not going to be the title, and that they only did that to show at the press conference at E3 that like this isn't a movie, this isn't a whatever, this is a game.
And to me, that means, I think that, and this is what we always talk about with words needing definitions. Like, I don't know what a lot of people think about with remake, but to me, it means you remake what has already existed and you remake it again. Which means that you stay true to it, as opposed to a reboot, which is like the Devil May Cry reboot from Ninja Theory or something, which is a different game. Or, the reboot of whatever movie, has been rebooted in the last 7 years, which is, everything. So I personally want to see something that's totally true to the original.
So something similar to Resident Evil on the GameCube compared to the PS1 one, where it's like it was very faithful, but there was added stuff. That would be, to me, the ideal situation. I just still don't think they're going to do that.
I don't either. I just, to me, if they want to obviously if they want to rewrite it, parts of it, I think that's fine. The translation we got in the States on PS1 for Final Fantasy VII is notoriously bad. As a lot of translations were at that point. I mean, when we were talking to Iga about Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and I said to him, what is a man? He didn't know what I was talking about. And Ben Judd was talking about how, like, that is not even in the original game in Japanese. He asked, what is a person? And that's a totally different thing, So I think that there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on in Final Fantasy VII. So, a lot of the translations are just bad. So if they want to rewrite it on the Japanese front to make it even better in their language and then have a proper localization like we get now, I think that's totally fine. But there are just certain things you cannot remove from the game. And I think it's very dangerous to start talking about Final Fantasy VII in a revisionist sort of way, because I don't think that people that want this game want that.
Yeah.
If that's what they wanted, they would get a new Final Fantasy VII game, which we already got with Crisis Core, etc.
But I mean, that's kind of the problem, though, is that, this revisionist thing where if they were to rewrite it, like you're talking about just making the quality of what already existed better, like the grammar and just like the storytelling, telling the same story just, more concisely and just better, creating a better world with Midgar and all this stuff.
Right.
But the problem is with what we've seen of the universe of Final Fantasy VII, since 7 has come out, there hasn't been anything that's been amazing. There's been some stuff that was decent. I enjoyed Crisis Core a lot.
Yeah, I liked Crisis Core as well. Dirge of Cerberus was obviously not very good.
Not well received. And like Advent Children, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like everyone was so excited for that being a movie and like continuing and stuff. But really what it comes down to is that movie was just fan fiction, and it was fan service is a better way to put it. It was just like it gave everyone what they thought they wanted at the time, but then once they saw it, they're like, this isn't what I wanted. Like, that's not Cloud. That's not like, why is Sephiroth back like this? Like all these questions came up and they weren't, you didn't feel fulfilled watching it. You were just like, oh, this is cool, they're fighting, but it just felt like a glorified CG cutscene, which is great. But it's like that wasn't what Final Fantasy VII was. It didn't have the humor and it didn't have the just personality of the characters, And it was like a weird Hot Topic meets realism meets Dragon Ball thing, you know? And we kind of saw that then go forward into the aesthetic of Final Fantasy 13. But what's interesting is I don't think, and especially now that we've seen this trailer, it obviously looks like Advent Children. It's like I don't understand how they could rewrite it without just making it more, for lack of a better term, emo, and just more fitting the aesthetic of the rest of the Final Fantasy VII universe, as opposed to the one standalone thing that is the original game.
Sure. Yeah. And this is the hazard of doing something like this is that I don't really feel bad about it, because I often said that the financial imperative is for Square to do this because they can make a lot of money doing it. And at some point, you do have to listen to your fans. Final Fantasy VII, for many younger gamers, put Square on the map when they were still Squaresoft. And it wasn't for me. I mean, I was playing, many of us were playing Square games long before that. But for a lot of people, that was a come to Jesus moment about Westerners liking PlayStation games, liking role-playing games, liking Japanese games. And so it's a game that holds a special place in people's hearts. So I don't think that, although I don't disagree that they can go in different directions with Final Fantasy VII, or they can go in different directions with other games they remake, I think with 7 you have to be very careful, because people are going to have a certain expectation of what it's going to be. And I don't necessarily think it's controversial to say that most Final Fantasy VII fans want a prettier Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
With cutscenes and beautiful environments and beautiful character models. I don't think they should fuck with the fighting system. I don't think they should fuck with the materia system, and have the same flow through the game. That's the one thing. I still know the game in my head pretty well, like where it goes and the places you visit, and those things are still important. So I'd be disappointed if they added a new town or a new playable character or something. It's like, that's not what your charge is right now. What you're charged with doing over the next few years is remaking what already exists. And I understand that the biggest problem, and people have brought this up in the past, and I think it's a really important thing to think about, is that the people at Square Enix, as an any game developer, they're creative people, and they want to make games, and they want to implement their own ideas. And to be put on a task like this might be exciting for some people, but for many people, it's going to be harrowing, and it's going to be what they don't want to do, because they have a certain confine in which they have to stay within. The rules have already been made. The parameters exist for Final Fantasy VII, and so they're going to have to dance the tightrope dance of what can we do and get away with, but how true do we want to keep it? And the fact is they can't.
The worst thing, man, is they're at the end of the day, they are just going to get picked apart for what they did wrong. If they did try to perfectly remake the game, no one's going to be there like, oh, good job, guys. It's going to be like, oh, you fucked this up. Why didn't you do that? Like, oh, this character design's off. Oh, all these little things. And that's if they do it perfectly. Like, if they try to actually remake what was already done. If they do what is going to end up happening and just kind of like make a spiritual what is it going to be? Like, what would you even call that?
I think they should just call it Final Fantasy VII and just be like, this is Final Fantasy VII. And that's so like, yeah, what you would call something like that, a spiritual successor, a spiritual remake of I don't know. What I know is that they have their work cut out for them. What I know is that this game is nowhere near coming out. Years away.
And that's what's the most interesting to me about this entire announcement is we've talked about it so many times of like this being what Square needed to do to please the fans and all that stuff. But it's funny that it happens now, because now is the time when I'm like, this is not when they need to do this. They should have done it a couple years ago or a couple years from now. Like, specifically with Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy 15, it's like, let's get those going. Let's get those good, and or else cancel one of them and make this the priority. Like, not that I would want them to do that, specifically not this fucking long after I've waited for these games, but it's like, don't announce this third thing. That's just like, they're either going to work on it and it's going to take away from the other two games, or they're not going to work on it and everyone's going to be pissed off that this game just keeps being shown in like really obscure long CG trailers that, a couple points down the line, it's going to be, oh, that character you saw in that trailer not even in the game anymore.
As an outsider of this whole Square Enix thing, that's the whole point of what's going to happen with this. It's going to be trailer after trailer, talk after talk. Every show now, they're going to ask about these 3 games and what's happening, and the news will never be good. The news is never going to be, all right, it's almost done. It's coming out this September. Finally that trigger is going to fall, or be pulled, I should say, for Kingdom Hearts, for, the Final Fantasy they're working on too with the guys who go on that road trip. But it's like, now this is hanging over their head it's looming larger than ever. You know what I mean? And I thought PlayStation Experience was a weird thing to come out, toy with everyone's emotion, then just do the PC port, but then come out at E3 and say, oh, no, it is. Like, what are you doing? Like, what's the plan here?
Well, it's clearly something that happened in between.
You think it's reactionary to everybody's reaction?
Yeah, I don't know for sure. Like these decisions are made lightly, but it was about 7 months, six and a half months between the announcement of the PC port and then the Final Fantasy VII reboot, or remake, which is just entering production now. And mind you, we still have no idea who's making the fucking game, which is not a good sign either. So we know that Square Enix leadership is producing and directing it, but that doesn't really mean anything. Miyamoto's directing or producing fucking Star Fox doesn't mean anything. Unless you're like the director or the producer of that team, but a lot of these things are more symbolic, or like, you know, like Inafune, for instance, is helping create and directing and producing Recore with a studio that is 5,000 miles from Tokyo. So how intimate do you think his relationship really is with Armature on a day-to-day basis? Probably not very. And I'm not saying the game's going to be good or bad, but it's just something to keep in mind as an ancillary kind of thought.
Sure.
But the problem with VII is indeed, was this a reactionary move? And if so, good on them, because they're listening to what people want. But I still think Final Fantasy VII Remake sells more than Final Fantasy 15. You know, like I don't think that's out of bounds to say. I don't think that's out of control to say. I think Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be fucking huge.
Yeah.
And it's going to be huge regardless of when it comes out or how good it is. But I agree with what Greg's saying in the sense that Square Enix is setting a weird optic issue for themselves where it's like, well, what do you like? Where are your games? Like, when are they actually going to come out? And they have all these Western games coming out, which is great. You know, something like, you know, Tomb Raider, for instance, but which they're publishing, but it calls up interesting questions about like how are they using their own teams and their own internal resources, and also how are they tapping outside sources? Because as the stories that I was reading after E3 said, you know, CyberConnect was connected to the Final Fantasy VII thing, and I haven't seen that since, which means that it's probably just a fleeting rumor. But I don't believe they're making this game internally, and one of the big questions you have to ask is who the fuck is making it, and then from there you kind of go into a direction of, okay, when is it going to be ready, and when are you going to announce the release dates for these other games that people are really waiting for? Because I know some people were mad at me when I said it, but Final Fantasy 15, the demo, the fact that they're patching the demo is still some of the stupidest shit I have ever heard in my life. Why are you doing that? You put the demo out to get feedback, and then you put it in the main game. Who cares about the demo anymore? It shows to me that they have a whole whacked out view of when these games should come out and how much time they should be taking on them.
Yeah.
That's why I still say Final Fantasy 15 probably fall 2016, Kingdom Hearts fall 2017 probably at the earliest, if not 2018, Final Fantasy 7 2019. It would have been nice for it to be ready on the 20th anniversary, but that would mean that they would have to accelerate the shit out of this. And I will say, as an aside, that Square has an interesting example, although an unusual example, of how they can do this game, which is in Final Fantasy IV. When they remade 4 on the DS, it was, you know, they made the characters like Chibi and all these kinds of things, and they rewrote some of the story and balanced the difficulty, but it was the same game.
Yeah.
And that's the example I want to see. I want to see a retranslation. I want to see pretty graphics and all sorts of things, and throw in a few elements and balance things that weren't unbalanced, and get rid of some shit that sucked. Or add some new things in if you really want to, but make sure it doesn't affect the fabric of Final Fantasy VII. And so I actually think that is a great example of a game they've already done.
Exactly. But so my question to you, Colin, is what is the % chance that they'll do that compared to doing something else? And what do you think that something else is? Like, do you think that they would change the battle system to be more?
A lot
like
of rumors
13?
about that.
I know, but where do those rumors come? Those aren't like the rumors are just rumors of people worried. You know,
this is that and the problem with Japanese game rumors, as I think a lot of fans of Japanese games know, is that some of the rumors are just unfounded. You don't know where they come from. A lot of them comes from sites that we don't read and sources that are totally trusted that we just don't know. So. It's hard to like boil all that stuff down sometimes. So yeah, you have to take things on a case by case basis with those kinds of issues with the rumors and stuff like that. I think it's about 50-50. I think that it's going to be an internal fight with the team. And the good news is that you have some people involved in the leadership that worked on the original game, and I think they're going to want to stay true to it. But the aside from that is that they probably have looked at that game over the last 18 years and been like, I wish I could change something about this, and now I can.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just static on a black bottom fucking PlayStation 1 disc anymore. Now it's something that they actually can get into the code and mold again. And so while I have faith that the leadership will keep it true, I also have faith that the leadership will now be able to rectify the issues that they were not able to rectify the first time around. So it's a super dangerous game. I don't know. I just know that fucking with the battle system is a huge mistake.
And that's what scares. That is going to be the news that I'm most excited to hear, is if the battle system, what they do with it, and if they change it. And it almost worries me, though, because it's just like, I don't know that the battle system makes sense with the aesthetic of Final Fantasy VII, what it is now, and what this is going to be.
I think it does.
Well, because what we've seen of this CG trailer is that it's Advent Children. And from Advent Children, the battles look like crazy-ass Dragon Ball shit. That doesn't lend itself to active time battle of, we're just going to walk and hit and walk and hit. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I'm going to be shocked if they actually go through with that, because they're going to want it to look right and to look modern and to look like a 2019 game.
Yeah, but ATB is still random encounters. It's turn-based in the sense of stamina. So it's not turn-based like Dragon Quest, but it is turn-based like in the sense that you are taking turns. It's just that some guys go quicker than you, and so eventually it stacks up where they lap you and stuff like that. So I think that is still classic. Like that is a classic way to fight in a Final Fantasy game, and they shouldn't fuck with that because then it has the law of unintended consequences. How does that affect the materia system?
Yep.
How does that affect like the materia system will not work properly if you don't have a system like that. It just doesn't work because then they become more like summons maybe, but that's not really the intent of materia. The intent of materia is to make yourself stronger and attach it to your weapons and your accessories. So, and then it has the effect of how does it affect the enemy designs and the enemies and how many enemies there are and all these kinds of things. They can't fuck with that shit.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying though. Is it's just like I can't imagine. So okay, that we're really in this game, in an Advent Children style game, we're gonna see ice monsters, little like ice triangles. You know what I mean?
Well, they don't have to be triangles. They can, in other words, like I'm always thinking about the intro with the soldiers with the guns, right? And like the harrowing intro of Final Fantasy VII, which is a fucking great intro on the train, and they go up into the tower, and there you meet a bunch of humanoid enemies with guns, right? They're soldiers. They're Shinra, like whatever guys, and you could I think they're Shinra. I don't really remember anymore. You could. Imagine a situation where, like, I in my head, like when I saw the free memo, I'm like, I can't wait to see what this looks like. You know, there's still a place for first of all, like I know a lot of people think JRPG systems like that are archaic in a sense, like okay, you're gonna run around, you can't see the enemies, you magically appear in a battle with them, and then you like take turns fighting each other. I'm just saying like there are games that do that very well still, and I don't think that's gonna be a massive issue. So if there's like weird polygonal fucking garbage enemies, well, I was thinking about how cool are those Shinra soldiers gonna look like in the remake, and how real are they gonna look, and how is Cloud going to look in that fight with his sword and all this, you know, I don't know.
I think I'm talking less about that though, and more about how the actual fight looks. Because like it's not so much about the gameplay, because I'm with like the gameplay should be that way, but it's more about the aesthetics of what we're seeing. Like, is it really just gonna be Cloud just kind of like standing there bouncing, waiting for the bar to go up, and then walking up and doing a slash? Because from what we know from what the rest of the Final Fantasy VII universe is, it's never like that. It's throwing the sword up, jumping, grabbing, slicing, like doing a million like freaking combos on him. You know what I mean? It's more like the Final Fantasy 13 battle system.
Yeah, if they put Final Fantasy 13's battle system, which is fine. Final Fantasy 13's battle system is actually very good.
I enjoy it a lot, but it's not Final Fantasy 7.
No, it's not. It's a totally different game. And that was actually one of the only good things about Final Fantasy 13 was actually the fights. I don't know, man.
Just wasn't enough of them.
That's the thing is that there are no answers, and I don't think there are any answers at all. Period. That's the thing is what I'm saying is that I don't think they know. I think right now they're probably rewriting the script and trying to figure out how the fuck they're going to do this.
And it's all super nebulous.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that the director didn't know he was the director is all you fucking need to know about this project and how quick it was coming from fruition, which is why I think it's a direct reaction to the Ultimate Troll moment at PSX in December, you know? Like,
but that's nuts though that they're releasing that game. They are releasing a PS4 native version of Final Fantasy VII and then going to do this, even if it is a couple years later. Like, it's confusing, to say the least.
I guess it's confusing. I don't think it's that confusing. I think it's them saying they expected it to be done earlier. It's clearly not. It was supposed to be out by now. And them saying, like, to me, it's not confusing at all. It's them saying, like, here you have your Final Fantasy VII game, and good fucking luck if you think you have any idea when you're going to get the next one, which is their whole MO. I still can't believe there are people that think that Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts 3 are like a year away. That's like that's the shocking thing to me. I'm like, you're out of your mind. You know, so,
but Goofy
said it. So just that's how Square Enix works. And I appreciate them. They clearly have a lot of money to burn. So, because the burn rate on Final Fantasy 15 must be astronomical at this point. And they're still going to put it out, and they're patching the demo. So, I don't know, man. They're a confusing company, but I do appreciate them. I think that this is a good arc forward for them. Now I just want to see Dragon Quest 11.
Yeah. Of course you do, Colin.
Hey everybody, it's me, Greg Miller, and I wanted to let you know Comic-Con is coming up and Kinda Funny is going to be there. So if you're at San Diego, we have a bunch of stuff you can come do with us, and you don't even have to have a Comic-Con badge. On Thursday, we're going to Polite Provisions. We're doing a meet and greet there. 5 p.m. You don't need a Comic-Con badge. You do need to be 21. Don't blame me. Those are the drinking laws in the United States of America. Friday, we're doing the Game Over Greggy show at Petco Park as part of Geek and Sundry Studio Stage. No Comic-Con badges required. We're doing that at 3 p.m. And then I'm moderating a whole bunch of Comic-Con panels if you do have a Comic-Con badge. So come hang out with me in the convention center. All the details are up on kindafunny.com/news. So head over there for the full rundown.